Today I'm going to unbox 300 Earth and Water from Nuts Publishing. Now with a title like 300, that kind of evokes the legend of the 300 Spartans, which were portrayed in history and literature and also in movies. Also the 300 were portrayed in Frank Miller's movie 300, which was based on the graphic novel 300. And this game, though, is not just about those 300 Spartans or even the Battle of Thermopylae or the Hot Gates. This is about the strategic / operational battle between Persia and the Greeks. Looking at the back of the box here. At the start of the 5th century BCE, the Persian Empire decided to invade Greece by sea and land. The Greeks, composed of numerous city-states, were able to resist their forces in many epic struggles thanks to their better tactics and superior arms, such as hoplites and triremes. So, 300 Earth and Water is a strategy game for 2 players lasting 30 to 40 minutes. Take the side of the Greeks with Athens and Sparta at their head, or play the Persian Empire led by the King of Kings to see who will control the Eastern Mediterranean. Over the course of 5 expeditions, each player must try to control more cities than their opponents. Every decision is crucial, from the choice of the right card to play to the moves you make with your troops on the map. Be the master of land and sea. And you get to see an example of the game board there and the cards. This is card driven. You have, if you see the cards here, the top is going to be one faction and the bottom is going to be another faction. So you're using a common pool of cards here. There are dice involved on the combat. There's also, this is very abstract, okay? This is not a in-depth strategic or operational game on the battle between the Persians and Greeks. This is really somewhat abstracted. And it is asymmetrical. The Greeks have an advantage on their combat, both on sea and land, but the Persians generally have the numbers. But there's some decisions that have to be made on how the Persians attack, if they go by sea, or if they go, create a bridge and then try to go by land. There's some variety here on how the Persians want to bring the attack to the Greeks, and then how the Greeks can defend. Let's get inside the box and see what we have in here. This is again is very abstract and has somewhat of a Euro feel in some of the mechanics, which I think some people might say it's definitely not a traditional war game. Let's put it that way. You're going to be moving by areas and not hexes or even grid. So it's got a nice little metallic lip here so that you keep everything in. Relatively small box in that regard. I mean, size of my hands. My hands are not especially huge, but pull this out here so we can see a little bit more of what's going on here. So you got the box here. You're going to get cubes. Yes, it is a cube pusher. And we've got to get our silica there. You get dice. You get a deck of cards. You get a rule booklet here. We'll take a look at that. You get a map, and the map is mounted. And that's it. So let's put these out here. So you got a nice little storage box there. Okay, let's lay the map out. Do things a little bit different this time. Map is not huge. That is the map. Fits all within my purview there. And I would think that, so here's the Persians over here, here's the Greeks over here. So I imagine this is, if you're going to sit, this is probably the Greeks, and then the other side would be the Persians, if you want to sit it that way. You might want to move the map this way. Interesting. So, here's the board, and here's where you're going to be. Here's the Persians, and then there's a place here where the Persians can build a bridge. Dump these out here. Here's that bridge. That's one of the actions they can do. The blue, I believe, are the Persians because there's more of them there. There's the silica. Some cubes here. There's a couple of black cubes. I imagine those might be markers. When they say there's 5 campaigns or 5, I think those are basically, it's 5 turns. So you're going to go do this for 5 turns and then see who has the most cities. And here's the different cities that you can take over. The discs are the navies. And you can you'll put the army on the navy when you're transporting it over the water if you're going to do a sea invasion there. Let's take a look at the cards here. I'm doing this totally backwards. Normally I go right to the rules, but this time I decided to do a little bit different. The components are nice. The map's nice. It's kind of small, but this isn't a grandiose game. And here's your cards. So as you can see here, the red on the top, or the brown, is the Greeks, and the bottom is the Persians. And so whoever has the card in here, you're drawing from a common deck. If you're the Greeks, you're going to use the top. If you're the Persians, you're going to use the bottom. And the cards themselves can be discarded not for their abilities, but to do stuff like move and reinforce, I believe. See an example of the cards there. There's the 300 Spartans. Okay, let's take a look at the rule book here. So it's small enough to fit in the box, so not a huge rule book. You've got an introduction. It's dual column, illustrated, and in color. So your cubes are the armies, the discs are the navies, the blacks are the marker. Then you have the pontoon bridge that I was talking about there. Here's an example of the cities. You have the name, the city, the amphora, the road, and then you have major city and major cities of the Greeks and major city of the Persians are denoted there. Here's your setup. Here's gameplay, preparation, operations phase. Then you have combat. And as I said, the Greeks have an advantage. I think the maximum that you roll dice and the high wins, but the maximum I think for the Persians is a 4. I have to read up on that, but so they're already kind of limited or handicapped. They're going to have to bring a lot more numbers to bear and pick their battles because they're just not going to have the advantage in the dice. So that kind of gives the Greeks a natural defensive advantage in all the combats. Supply phase, hence the strategic or operational level of this. Scoring phase and victory conditions. Then there's an explanation of the cards here. Each of the cards are explained, and then you have a little bit of a background on the Greco-Persian Wars. So you're looking at 13 pages of rules, dual column, illustrated. So, not too hard to get into this one. This is a relatively easy one to get into. With the card play, this is probably pretty hard to solitaire because you are, having a hand of cards to use them for certain things. So that I haven't read up on how they do solitaire. I don't think there's any solitaire specific rules in here. But there you have it. This is what you get in a box of 300 Earth and Water. And of course, the nice box is kind of self-contained there with a little magnetic lip. so that it can go easily on your shelf or wherever you want to put it. Anyway, so that's what I have for you today. I've seen some other, I think the Player's Aid have done this, and some others have done this. I think this is an interesting game. I like easier games to get into and get to the table. This looks like a relatively accessible 2-player game. This is not going to give you the deep simulation effect of that battle, but I think it's going to be err on the side of playability versus simulation. So this is going to looks like it's highly playable and going to give you some interesting decisions. And you have unique attributes of your forces, with the advantage of the Greeks, but the numbers of the Persians, plus the Persians are going to need to be aggressive in this game because it's all about controlling cities, and they only have 2, and then the Greeks have several, so it's all going to be pushing over into Greece and controlling cities. So that's what you have here. I'd love to hear your thoughts, comments. What do you think about this game, this type of game? How does it look? If you played it, love to hear your thoughts about it. Anyway, that's what I have for you today. Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate any time you spend with me. I know it's precious, so greatly appreciated. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching.